Alrighty. What's going on in the world?
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel?
Long-term wise, do you think it will look like another state, United States, that's over there? If United States takes responsibility for the strip, for the whole area, I'm thinking it would become United States' responsibility for rebuilding all of that, maybe with some help from Israel. On one hand, it seems very interesting if the United States took it over and provided, treated it like another state to the United States, but overseas, kind of like we do with Hawaii. Or would they annex it? I'm very ignorant on what annexing is. All I know is that you own it, but you own what you're annexing, but you're not. It's kind of like if a corporation buys another corporation. That corporation still lets the one that's bought to do their own thing, but send them into a different direction, kind of thing. If I'm explaining that right. Someone in the comments, could explain that to me. Could teach me something.
And to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle, and it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Bibi?
What did you just call them? Before the war, I saw photos of the strip before the war happened, and it made me think if the United States got their hands on the strip and they took care of it properly, it could look really nice. Because the United States has a standard that a lot of other like some other countries don't. So if the strip had the United States standards, you would see manufactured homes and all these other things compared to what you see. Well, anything really would be better than what you see now today. But I have really high hopes. If the United States does take the strip, I have high hopes for it. However, I am not blind to the fact that there are people who live there who are concerned, or even people who live in the United States who are concerned about the United States owning that piece of land. Everyone's concerned about it. If you're going to take up that mantle, then, respect it.
I mentioned again tonight our three goals. And the third goal is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism, so many attacks against us, so many trials and so many tribulations. He has a different idea, and I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
That is a very interesting strategy, chat. It is. If I had to step into Donald Trump's mind for a second, or the mind of him and all his people, I'm in all their minds simultaneously. It's like, hey, there's been war going on here for a very, very long time, and nothing's changing. Nothing is changing. So if the United States owns it, owns all of it, and give it the same standards that we give the standards of, I was about to say New York for a second. Oh my goodness. Give it the same standards that, they give to any city inside of the United States, it would be less likely that that area would cause any trouble for Israel ever again. I have really high hopes for it. But the next video we're about to see will, sheds a little bit more light on how the people feel about this, chat.
The news of President Trump's plan to take over dropped like an Israeli bomb. I'm not leaving, nor me or my children. No matter what happens, we are clinging to this land, a 40-kilometre stretch of rubble they'll die for.
We are not going to leave Gaza.
And 24 hours after announcing the plan,
I don't think the United States would push them out. In fact, I'm certain of it. I can't predict the future, chat. No one can, except for Steve. Yeah, I know you can predict the future. I don't think the United States would push the people out of the Gaza Strip. They wouldn't. And I know that they're very concerned about that. I feel like if the United States did take the Gaza Strip, the most appropriate thing to do is to rebuild and make it better. Education. Probably the top priority would be education. Water and all these things. I think that would be the smartest idea. It's like, you know that one movie, Wall-E movie, where everyone got fat, and the theory is that the evil robots made the humans fat so the robots can take over. I'm not saying the United States would make people in the Gaza fat. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that wouldn't happen either. What I'm saying is that if you make people happy, they will be less likely to start a war. Granted, people in the United States do riot, protests and all these things, and there are, violent acts here and there. If you raise the wealth of a country, do you think, chat, that they'll be less likely to cause problems later? That is a very good question. King Remedy says probably.
Plan a wind back.
It was not meant as a hostile move. It was meant as I think, a very generous move.
Now saying the move to relocate Gaza's 1.8 million residents was just temporary.
Temporarily relocated.
And ruling out any U.S. injection of funds.
You didn't miss anything.
This is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him.
The stunning policy savaged worldwide. Middle East leaders lined up against it. So too European. Some called it illegal.
Call it illegal? I mean, I could understand how it could be called illegal. Think about it for a second. Let's say there was a thing like the United States let it happen because their entire plan was to take the Gaza Strip anyway. Now that I can see being illegal. I can see that. But hey, you just let this whole destruction happen just so you can swoop in and take it for yourselves. Someone has to pay for all that destruction. I mean, like literally like out of the pocket. Like someone has to rebuild and all these things. If it's coming out of the United States pocket, where's it going to come from? The money has to come from somewhere. Or will they pay their own people to reconstruct? Because I doubt too many people from the United States will go over there to rebuild unless they're military. So they'd be creating jobs. They're like, hey, people of Gaza, I will pay you to construct this area over there or over there. Over there. That money has to come from somewhere, and if the United States is taking responsibility for it, then sure. Because who's going to take responsibility for the Gaza Strip? Israel clearly doesn't want to. They got other ideas. The United States is like, all right, we'll do it. Hand it over. We'll get it. The people's like, well, we're not moving. And I think the response would be, you don't have to move. In fact, we're going to rebuild your home and make it better, safer, cleaner. And now, I know it sounds rude to say, did you just call Gaza Strip filth? Like, no, I didn't. I'm just saying all the good things that the United States has, I am hoping that they're willing to share with the Gaza Strip to make it better, make it safer, and try to bring down the hostility that's over there. But here's a problem, chat, is that it's a religious thing, as far as I know. There's a lot of religious war going on over there, and it's been going on for many, many years. You would pretty much have to reprogram their religion through generations. You'd be pumping Christianity in there, changing people's mindset on it or making them less. I heard someone say that some of the Gazan people was saying how they were upset because they feel like they're in a cage. I think any outcome that happens with the United States and the Gaza Strip that allows people from Gaza to fly anywhere in the world is a plus. However, the Gazan people may want something that Israel has, and I think it's land. I heard that said somewhere. We might have a situation where it's like we have two people say, hey, this thing belongs to me, and they're willing to destroy each other to get it. So clearly what's been going on for many years isn't working. So the United States said, hey, let's do this politically. The United States said, hey, all right, that's enough of that. We're adopting you. You're my kid now. What do you want? You want Skittles? Fine. Let's figure out how we can make that happen. And that's assuming that the United States has a higher standard than the rest of the world, chat. A higher standard of living than the rest of the world. Because what other country would do that? What other country on this planet would be like, we'll take full responsibility of everything you do? And even Netanyahu was like, we didn't think of that. We took it a step further.
War crime.
It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing.
It's left so many asking, is Trump's plan crazy brave or just plain crazy? Come into Gaza, rezone a war zone and turn it into this Riviera-style resort. Well, experts say they had little choice but to wind it back. So much of this is simply unachievable. With reports, Trump's son-in-law was
saying that is unachievable, chat. It's a very closed-minded point of view. It's like it's a window of saying we don't have hope for this or faith for this. Like when I hear that the United States wants to merge with Canada or Mexico, I for one be like, oh, that's cool. It's one huge country. That would actually be pretty amazing. I'm gonna call this here and now, chat. If the United States goes forward with taking over Gaza and not pushing out its people, I think the Gaza Strip would look like a better version of New York.
behind it.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable.
As White House sources claimed, no staff knew this was coming except President Trump.
I hope things turns out for the better. Who turns off their comments in the news video? Whatever.